Hey guys, welcome to the new video. We're going to be covering how I personally like to cut paint off the glass off window frames. I did a video on cleaning the glass, I did a video on some glazing techniques and another talk about. We did one about applying the first coat of latex on a sash frame. And so this one just kind of finishes the loop, I suppose, in the whole painting realm of the finishing of a window sash. Um, I'll go through and I'll chit chat about it and maybe point out a few of the tools that I like to use. Primarily, this is the hot one, is needle nose vice grip with some razor blades. I'm a big fan. I tried the plastic ones a little bit ago and mixed results. This one is the most consistent, especially ones that you keep sharp. And that is really attributed to keeping your glass clean all the way through the process. So I'll tell you what, I will get you closer to this and then we'll talk and I'll point some things out and we'll see how it goes. I'm really glad you're here, so come check it out. There. So I like to use straight edges. You can use a typical taping knife. They're worth like what, $5. You want to be sure to get ones that are reasonable in length that go across. You don't want to do multiples, you do 1, 2, 3. You'll eke by with 2 on this one. There's all sorts of different lengths. This one's a little bit longer. It goes a long ways. So, maybe this one will be a winner for the larger size sash. It just depends on what size of window you have. Another thing that I would like to show you is, where's my custom paint cutter tool? There it is. I'm gonna go in front of the camera real quick. Hang on a sec. All right, as I bump the tripod. I took a normal taping knife and I ground it down. I had a much more narrow area of cutting the paint. In fact, this one might be the ticket. Too wide, obviously. You go another size down, it's close, but it's hitting the putty. You don't want to do that. So I'm looking at the combo. Usually I use 2 in these situations, and that's pretty good. I like using this guy because I'm still going to be dressing up corners, so it's not as critical that I go one that's perfectly all the way across. And what is a nice place to begin for you guys? Let's see if we can bring in a little bit closer here. And we'll move you around if we need to. Let's see. There we go. Let's try that, shall we? So when I do this, I'll do it one knife at a time. By one knife at a time, I mean using one tape knife at a time. And I will hold it like so. So I have a good grip on it. I don't hold it by the handle. It's a little awkward. And sometimes if I have to fine tune things to get to the corners, I'll use 2 hands. So I'll hold it like this. Putty knife, kind of hold it like so, almost like a pair of chopsticks, but wider. Well, there's a new challenge. Cut paint with chopsticks. And see how I do that? I keep my blade in place, if I can, and I go at the corner. Keep it clean as you work. Like we said, you can revisit this. And I'll show you a reason why I like using the needle nose vice grip more than I do a more traditional tool. Those little insert single edge razor blades, because in this situation, if you're in a really awkward situation for cutting, you can put an angle on it and say you have some really small divided lights. See? And go at an angle and cut it. It's a question of comfort. See how it keeps my hand out of the way? So I think it offers you a lot more flexibility. It's more than stable for handling the edge. There you go. And there you go. I'll usually kind of blow it off. What we can do is we can go do the full edge. In fact, let's just finish that guy. Again, I go down there, finish on the corner. the corners are important. The eyes are really drawn to corners. You know, if you're going to emphasize something that looks really good, corners and connection points are important. There's a little excess paint that my blade didn't get. And because your glass isn't covered in dried oil or pumice, it's so much easier to clean this stuff off. Let me see if I can get you, well, we'll give you a close-up here momentarily. So I'm going to take my slightly longer taping knife. I'm going to get it in its corner. If you've had too much coffee and it's the afternoon, you want to use 2 hands, set it in its place right there. Always take off your little ribbon. I just drop it on the ground because this latex paint, for some reason, it's always kind of sticky. And if you leave it on the glass, it'll re-stick to the glass. Oil-based paint doesn't do that. It kind of breaks up and kind of turns into powder. Keep your work clean as you go along. You know, I wonder if like a little GoPro camera would be handy. That's kind of nice and convenient as it lands on the taping knife. Cut into your corner and go along. You will be revisiting that corner, so you don't have to be too critical. It's almost like glazing. You're always addressing the corners. There, that's that, that's it, that's it, okay. So, when it comes to this edge, you can do the backhand if you'd like. It's a little awkward. It takes some getting used to, but with the light controlled hand, you can pull it off. Blow off the excess. This has had 2 coats of paint applied, at least for the enamel. I like to do my first coat reasonably thin, and then I don't do the second coat thick per se. I just do it moderate, to where there's not a feeling of drag with your paintbrush, but also not a feeling of absolute slop. There's kind of this little sweet spot in between on the application. And if I find any blemishes that I can resolve, typically what I'll do is I'll call this good. And then after the window's installed, I'll do a smidgen's little walkthrough and touch things up. There. So let me take you off the tripod. There we go, sorry. Well, let's get you a little bit closer here. Let's see, so you can see the corners. And now I can dress up the corners a little bit more if they're really obvious. And you can compare it to what I have not yet cut. So I'm not doing a whole lot of excess on the glass. Okay, you're gonna have to look at my ugly mug here for a moment while I get you situated. It's a pretty fancy little setup. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's get you a little further out. There we go. Okay, how's that? Hopefully it's not too nauseating. I'm still using the same razor blade. I don't feel any scratching. I don't hear any glass being scratched. That's because, once again, I got all the dirt off. All the dirt's been removed, all the pumice has been removed, all the excess oil has been removed. And so we have a fairly smooth, clean surface to work with. Now, I earlier mentioned how I did not prime the glazing putty or the overlap on the glass, and I find this easier to cut off the glass without any oil-based primer applied. It's certainly a cleaner process, but my only question is, how well does this latex stick to the glass? Since it does not have an oil-based primer applied, does that oil-based primer on the glass have a better bond to the glass than the, I got mixed up, to the primer? I don't remember. You know what I'm saying. Does the latex stick better than the oil does? My gut feeling is no. Will this be a problem in the future? Maybe, but probably not. I don't think it's going to be a major issue. Especially in a functional sense. The sash putty has a very good bond to the glass and the wood. I've seen the studies done by the National Park Service in regards to different glazing putties. And Sarco is one of the best performing within that study. Pretty much came down to Albac and Sarco. Just to save yourself some time in wondering. That's about it. What else can I say about it? Once again, you see it's resting on a piece of foam. I think having a soft, comfortable surface for it to rest upon is really critical in keeping the interior side of your frame dry and scratch free, because work surfaces can easily, see, this is a really awkward angle. I'll probably flip the frame to show the different method. It's really easy to scratch your interior finished job if you don't have it resting on a soft surface. You can see I try to blow this off, but you can see sometimes it sticks. Okay, there. Okay, there. We did it. Let's bring you further out. So let's bring you up. Ooh, it extends. I know, pretty fancy, huh? I apologize for the lighting if it's no good. We're going vernacular on this. Humble beginnings. Just like how I started my business. All right, let's see here. Next. Let's see. We keep cutting. Going across. We cut. You can see, once again, I also want to mention that I'm using my pinky out and I'm resting it on the glass up above to steady the knife in some of these applications. And that really helps stabilize your knife. I just got interrupted with a phone call that I did not answer. So I'm recording for you guys. And so, got a little distracted there. All right. You can see my work is at an angle. I'm fortunate enough to have a work table that I can tilt. That's very secure. If you make yourself a work table, it's nice to include a feature that you can kind of turn into a really heavy duty easel. You know, I've made other flat work tables with different little features, and I always find myself working on this one. And the fact that there's a light directly above, that really helps me see any defects that I'm working with. What do you guys think about this process so far, huh? You like it? I'm not a major fan of painting. I've said that before in previous videos. But I still want to do a good job. You know, it is a good skill set to have. I'd rather not like it and be good at it than never even try and find myself in a bit of a pickle. And I know what my strengths and weaknesses are. And painting is not my greatest strength. And that's okay. I'm gonna get rid of these ribbons. Ah, it sticks to your fingers. No. I'm gonna flip the frame just to show you. But first, let's finish this guy. I'm gonna go to my other knife. I usually have a nice little roll around work tray. And that has been such a wonderful addition to have. And I use it for setting up the knives for the machines. I use it for a plethora of stuff. It's gonna keep your work surface clean. You got little paint ribbons. You cut it off once. You don't want to cut it off twice. And what other little remnants that may linger behind it. If you notice, when I was glazing the window on the first go round, you'd always have a little bit of oil in the corners from the glazing putty, and it's really hard to remove from the pumice because you didn't want to really mess up your corners with the brush when you're dusting off the pumice. This razor blade, because it's always predominantly sharp because you're working on clean glass, it's able to remove that. If you had oil on this frame, because you didn't pumice it after glazing, this would be a much more difficult, tedious story. Let's cut this long stuff off. Cut that off. Cut that off. And if I was doing this without a camera on me, let's see, I hope I won't be in your way. No, not too bad. I would have done this whole process, you know, and not have completed lights as I went across. I would have just simply, you know, done the U shape across the whole board and then flip the frame and finish it off. There. Get rid of some little curly cues. Get rid of some of the curly cues. Get rid of some of the curly cues. Very good. Okay, let's flip the frame. So, are you able to see me? Now let's go this way, guys. Follow me. Come along for the ride. There you go. A little bit of a tilt down, huh? All right, let's finish it out. And another important thing to consider is transportation. If you're doing this at your house, you can do one window at a time, set it aside, let it dry. But say if I'm bringing, 30 windows with me to a project, I'm gonna have them stacked up and strapped down and all that jazz, and latex is notorious for scuffing. I don't see it as a very durable paint. I just see it as an easy paint. It dries quick, it's easy to clean up, but it is not very strong to abrasion. And that I don't like in regards to windows, because windows are functional. They endure a lot of weather. And they're a much more complicated system than just a simple windowsill or a jamb or brick molding or the sorts. The sash goes through a lot. There we go. Okay. I'll look the frame over one more time. Like I said, I'll do some touch-up work. And if I see anything that's kind of obvious to me, I'll fill that in. There's a little bit of a dimple there. Tiny little dimple there. That'll cure reasonably quick. That looks fine. That looks fine. You just kind of pick away at it. So that's really about it, you guys. I mean, it's simple. It's nice. It keeps it really clean. It's a way to have really sharp corners. Painter's tape kind of has a textured or spotted line when you're taping windows. Like if you're going to use a spray gun, that's what I like about hand paint application or hand brush. You get to control how much you apply. You get to have as little as you want on the glass. Sometimes if you're doing a job in the field and you don't have this much luxury of returning to cut paint, you can do it by hand and get some pretty clean lines. It just takes practice. It takes understanding the material, the situation, and I hope this is helpful for you. This kind of closes the loop in the sense of applying the putty and applying the paint and cutting it off the glass so it's ready for installation. And when this is transported, it'll have paper on the surface to protect the paint surface. I think you get the idea. You get construction paper and you wrap it over. So I hope this is helpful. I hope you liked the video. I really appreciate your time watching it. Leave a comment, like. If you want to subscribe, I'll keep trying to post more just to put some more knowledge out there. And I hope you find it to be a credible source. And I'll see you on the next one. All right, well, thank you so much. Have a great day.